So welcome everyone for attending tonight. We really appreciate you joining with us for our talk on how to stay healthy in a fit world. I'm very excited. This is a topic I've been wanting to talk about on a webinar for probably about 3 months at least. We talked about doing this, so I'm so excited that it's finally happening. So I wanted to first introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Tanya West, and I'm an online marketer in the digital marketing space, and I am also a nutritional consultant and a certified holistic cancer practitioner. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of a background story of why we're talking about this topic tonight, and I promise you it does relate to our topic. So I wanted to share with you a little bit about my story. And it started back in my late 20s. I was not feeling well and I wasn't sure why. I went to many different doctors and no one could really find out what was wrong with me. And it wasn't until I left my stressful job as a software developer at the time, I thought I was just stressed. And as it turned out, I actually had cancer. So I was diagnosed at the age of 30 with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I went through chemo and radiation and all kinds of fun stuff that I wouldn't want anyone else to go through. And it's very sad that it happens more and more these days. So when I was just about done my treatments, my mom, who had breast cancer before me and was okay when I was going through treatments, actually ended up having her cancer come back just about when I was done my treatments. And we were having radiation, unfortunately, at the same time. And it kind of ignited me into, I didn't know anything about healthy living at that time. I admit that I wasn't eating the greatest. And I was also at a desk job, so I wasn't very active either. And so I tried to learn as much as I could online, looking things up to try to help my mom and get her some health practitioners to help her. Unfortunately, at that 6-year point that she'd gone on and off through cancer, she passed away. And that, so that really ignited me into the health industry. So I started taking all kinds of courses to educate myself to help those around me, including myself, because I didn't want to get sick again. And so that's what led me into becoming a nutritional consultant. And as time went on and I learned even more, but unfortunately my dad, who was a very active person, was like playing golf and tennis and very healthy in his 70s, and he suddenly passed away from heart failure. So my life was turned completely upside down at that point. And I wanted to focus on something positive instead of getting really down and depressed. So I decided, I might as well, life is too short. I might as well do something that I've always wanted to do. And that was to get as fit as I possibly could. It was something I really wanted. I was in my late 30s at the time. So I thought, now or never, I really want to do this. So I enrolled in a fitness competition. And I decided that, 3 months of intense training, I hired some trainers to kind of give me an idea of what I should be eating to compete and lean out. And I went through it not just once, but then I ended up doing it 2 more times after that for a total of 3 times. And I did really enjoy the first 2. The third one, I wasn't really into it that much. And what I had noticed was each time I was competing, it was that much harder for me to lean out the next time and then the next time. So, and also what I realized is that I didn't really feel well myself when I was going through it. My diet was very strict, very high on the animal protein, low on the fat. I wasn't getting a lot of veggies into my diet either. And just all around, I started thinking maybe this isn't so healthy the way that I was told to do it. So my health is number one and super important to me. So after that, I decided to enroll in a cancer certification program and expand my knowledge within that industry and learn even more. And I learned so much valuable information on oxidative stress and the power of antioxidants. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. And, you know, when I was in this program, they had mentioned this product of concentrated fruits and veggies, and I wasn't interested. I worked at a health store before, and I was very much a pro-vitamin person. That's what I was taught and educated on. So I said no, and went on with my life. And a couple years later, I was actually interviewing another cancer doctor in the States for a podcast, and she mentioned this product again of, you know, whole food nutrition. And so I thought, well, maybe there's something to this if all these people are using it. And so I went back to my cancer certification teacher and said, well, tell me a little bit more about this product. Maybe I'm not really fully understanding this. So she did. And, you know, I started taking it, and I'm so, so thankful that I did. It's made a huge, huge impact in my life, not only my health, but also my peace of mind, because I definitely don't want to get sick again. And I don't wish that on anyone else. So I want to, this leads me into introducing to you my friend and mentor, and the person who actually taught me my cancer certification course, Alisa Herriman. And I want to read you her bio here because it's so amazing. So she has been teaching and researching nutrition for 15 years now, specializing in the cancer recovery and prevention for 11 years. She is a mom of 4 small children and very passionate about teaching others the power of whole food nutrition and its role in disease prevention. She is a main stage speaker, and she is high demand. Everyone wants her to come and talk. I hear about it all the time over here. She travels across Canada to speak at all kinds of various events, and she also teaches several college-level nutrition courses, including the cancer certification program, of which I was very fortunate to be a part of. So I want to pass the floor on to Alisa Herriman.
Thank you so much. And Tanya, thank you so much for putting this event together. I think the information overload and the misinformation that's out there is just really, really overwhelming. And, you know, our goal is, you know, to give people good tools that's based on science that can make a difference for them. So thank you so much for putting this together. For those of you who do not know me, like Tanya said, my name is Alisa Herriman. I've been teaching nutrition for 15 years. And I'm just really passionate about giving people really good information. I know that when people have good information, they make good choices. You know, educated people make educated choices. So my goal as a practitioner is just to kind of help everyone weed through all of the information that's out there, and you know, just give people some good food for thought and you know, some good tools to make good choices. So I'm going to talk to you guys, you know, in terms of the fitness. So my goal tonight was to share with anybody who's exercising often, you know, maybe more than 3 times a week for more than an hour at a time, or, you know, maybe you're training for an event, or you're a bodybuilder, or you're an athlete. I work with lots of young athletes as well. You know, this information is for you guys specifically tonight. And if you're not falling into one of those categories, that's okay. You might know somebody who is. And, you know, this is good information, good health information anyways, but really this is specific for people that are exercising on a regular basis. And before I kind of go in and talk about my recommendations, I want to do a really quick little nutrition lesson here for you. And the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is macro and micronutrition. So macronutrition in macronutrients is our protein, carbohydrates, and fats. That's our fuel that our body needs. And micronutrition is our nutrients, our vitamins, our minerals, our phytonutrients, the antioxidants, those types of things that our body actually needs in order to function well. So looking quickly at macronutrients, you know, we see a lot of different diets and lifestyles around how much protein, how much carbohydrates, how much fats we should eat. And, you know, there's a lot of different theories and there's a lot of different programs out there. And I actually work with people who compete through the fitness industry, you know, in fitness competitions. And I will take them to a certain point and then I quit. I absolutely refuse to work with people during that cutting stage because I really don't like it. I know it's really hard on their bodies. I know that it's really difficult for them to recover. So that's kind of like where I draw the line. But if you're exercising on a regular basis, even just leading up to something like that, then, there's really no perfect amount of protein, carbohydrates, and fats. If you're working with a coach and you're getting into cutting and getting into those types of competitions, they're going to have some specific ratios they want you to follow. In terms of just healthy eating and being an athlete, there is no perfect ratios. So we need good protein every single day. Protein is part of our immune system. It's part of healthy hormones. It helps our body make muscle. And we really don't have a lot of protein deficiencies here in North America. We tend to overeat our protein. And, there's been some research put out in recent years, and a really great book that if you haven't read, it's called The China Study, written by two Dr. Campbells. They talk, about, animal protein and its role in cardiovascular disease and turning on and off cancer. It's a really great read, really good information. And, in that we learned that through their research, which was a really large body of research, we learned that too much proteins, specifically from the animal kingdom, is toxic. When animal protein is broken down, it leaves behind acidic byproducts like ammonia, and it's left to our liver and our kidneys to filter that. And if we live on these really extremely high protein diets for a long period of time, what ends up happening is we end up stressing those organs, and we can have issues with those organs down the road. So I've never been a big advocate as a nutritionist for super high protein diets. Plant protein, on the other hand, so protein that's naturally found in all plants, some plants have more protein than other plants, is attached to complex carbohydrates, and it's a clean burning fuel. We consider plant protein to kind of be like the smokeless fuel. So it's a cleaner burning protein, it's easier on the body, and it's also attached to complex carbohydrates, which are also necessary for healthy function. So that's protein. You can eat too much of the wrong type, but if you're eating your protein mostly from the plant kingdom, you really can't overdo it there. The second thing of the macronutrients is carbohydrates. Now, our body requires complex carbohydrates. The carbohydrates are broken down into glucose, sugar, and this then impacts our blood sugar levels. And we need blood sugar to function. Our brain's only source of fuel is glucose. Our nerves need it, our muscles need it. So we need good, solid blood sugar levels, which, depending on the type of carbohydrates we eat, those carbohydrates will then determine our blood sugar levels. So if we're eating complex carbohydrates, so fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, whole grains, legumes, these foods will stabilize our blood sugar, and we'll get long-term energy from that, which will also help you as an athlete or in the gym work out and get a better quality workout. If we eat refined carbohydrates, these foods cause blood sugar spikes and lows. They make our body produce insulin. We can eventually become resistant to the insulin, which is diabetes, type 2 diabetes. We increase these refined carbohydrates, increase our risk for things like cardiovascular disease. So there's good guys and bad guys in the carbohydrate realm as well. We really want to be focusing, on lots of plant carbohydrates in their natural form as much as possible. And then the third macronutrient is fats, and fats are absolutely essential. I'm so glad that we're out of the low-fat era because every cell of our body is made of a lipid bilayer. We need healthy fats for healthy cells. Our brain is 60% fat, so we need good fats in our diet to have good brain function as well. So we do need good fats, but like carbohydrates and like protein, as a nutritionist, I believe that some fats are better than other fats. And I love fats from the plant kingdom, the coconut oils, the flax oils, the olive oils, sesame, avocado, all of these healthy fats are incredibly nourishing. And there's really no listed health concerns with consuming large amounts of these fats. I give them to my children every single day, and they're definitely part of a healthy diet. So a question I get asked all the time is, what should my ratios be? And more so in the fitness and athletic field, how much protein, how much carbohydrates, and how much fats. And like I shared, there is no perfect formula. As nutritionists, Tanya and I have the ability to sit down with you and kind of come up with a general formula based on how much exercise, your age, your height, your current weight, all of that. There's a lot of factors that go into that. So we see things like 30-40-30, which is 30% of the calories from protein, 40% of your calories from carbohydrates, and 30% from fat. I was looking online to kind of see what right now, 2019, what people are recommending. Colorado State University, for their athletes, actually recommends 45 to 65% of their calories from carbohydrates, 10 to 35% of their calories from protein, and 20 to 35% of their calories from fat. And I found a personal trainer online who was fairly well respected. Her name was Liz Lotz, is I think how you pronounce her last name. And she was around the same, 40 to 50%, half of your calories from carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, 25 to 30% from protein, and 20 to 30% from fat. So you're going to, depending on who you talk to and what their experience is and what their knowledge is, you are going to get different recommendations. So I actually have some general recommendations for athletes that I strongly suggest, and they are as follows. So if you are falling into that fitness and athletic category, then this is, if you were my client, this would be what I recommend. So number one, I would recommend that 80% of your calories come from the plant kingdom. All right. And the reason being is because plants have complex carbohydrates, healthy fats, lots of good plant-based protein. And in addition to that, you're going to get a ton of micronutrition, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. I only recommend complex carbohydrates, so nothing refined. I help you focus on as much plant protein as possible. I don't make my clients go vegetarian or vegan by any means, but I try to keep their animal protein to 1 to 2 servings a day maximum. So if you have questions as I go along, you can type them in. I don't know if I'll get a chance while I'm sharing this to answer, but I will definitely make sure that we go back and answer your questions for you. The next thing is micronutrition. So we've covered macronutrients. That's the fuel for the body, how much you should have, kind of where you should be getting your food from. The other reason I recommend 80% of my clients' calories come from the plant kingdom is because that's where we get our micronutrition. That's where we get our vitamins, our minerals, our phytonutrients, which are also antioxidants. And Tanya will probably touch a little bit more on oxidation. I'm going to talk about it a little bit as well. And when we restrict, when we don't eat enough plant foods, we don't get enough nutrition, and every single function in our body requires a nutrient to be present. Our heart doesn't beat without calcium, magnesium. Our liver can't break down toxins and eliminate it without a whole variety of nutrients. Our brain doesn't fire and function without nutrients. We need nutrients every single day, and a lot of nutrients are water soluble, which means that when we eat them, our body makes use of what it needs and it pees out the excess. So we're not storing these water-soluble nutrients. So what that means is we need to get them in our body every single day. And that's what concerns me when I see people following, low plant diets or low carbohydrate diets where they're really restricting their fruit and vegetable intake, is because that's really where the nutrition is that's going to keep your body functioning well. So we thought for a long time that, and I was trained in it as a nutritionist, that vitamins were going to be the replacement for what we were missing in our diet. And we had recommended that, to augment the diet, that we would add in these synthetic vitamins. And, the research has really been done well in this area, and it's showing that we can't mimic Mother Nature. Nutrients that are isolated, so the moment they're taken out of their natural form and put in a dosage, they're poorly recognized by the body. They're not well absorbed. They all compete for absorption. So if you take a whole bunch of one nutrient, you can cause deficiencies in other nutrients, which means that you're constantly trying to play catch up depending on your supplementation. We had to start mega dosing so that we could get a traceable amount into the bloodstream. And really, it's just at the end of the day, it's just really expensive pee because most of us aren't absorbing it really well. So we really need to focus on our nutrition from food, and the science around nutrients naturally occurring in food is huge. It's just absolutely enormous. And in that, I'll give you an example. We know that tomatoes for men are protective against prostate cancer. If men eat more stewed tomatoes, it actually does reduce their risk. And there's some really decent science around that. What we now know is that tomatoes consumed at the same time as broccoli, the protective effects of the tomatoes increases significantly. And why is that? It's because foods actually and nutrients in their natural form, they work synergistically together. So when we eat a variety of plants all at the same time or throughout the day, we're actually intensifying the benefits of each of them by eating them together. We can't do that with synthetic supplementation. That's why when I eat an apple that has, up to 10,000 phytonutrients in it, I don't get glow in the dark pea. And that's because my body recognizes the nutrition in that food. So one of the most important parts of micronutrition is antioxidants. And I'll give you an example of why, and I'm just going to wrap it up here. An example of why is if you were to take an apple and cut it in half and leave it on the countertop, that apple would start to go brown. That's called oxidation. And our cells deal with about 10,000 hits of oxidative stress every single day. Now, if I took that same apple and I added lemon juice to it, I've added additional antioxidants, and I'm going to slow that oxidative process. The same thing happens in our body. If we have lots of antioxidants floating around in our bloodstream, our cells are better protected. This is why statistically, people who follow a more plant-strong diet often have much lower risks of disease like cardiovascular disease and cancers and autoimmune conditions. These are diseases that are believed to have oxidative stress as part of their underlying cause. And the reason is they get so much nutrients into their body by eating those plant foods, and they're getting tons of antioxidants. They're neutralizing that oxidative stress, which is so important, especially if you are working out often. So most cancer organizations recommend anywhere from 10 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables a day for the average person. Because athletes increase their breathing, they increase the oxygen that their bodies require and their muscles require, they also increase the amount of free radicals that are produced, which free radicals are oxidative stress. So athletes actually have a much higher risk against this oxidative stress, and their recommendation now is up to anywhere from 16 to 18 plus servings of fruits and vegetables in order to combat that oxidative stress. So what happens if we don't combat that oxidative stress? Well, there's an area of research that I am not an expert in at all, but as a nutrition geek, it's very, very interesting to me. And it's the world of epigenetics. And epigenetics is we have good genes and bad genes, and there's something that turns them on and off. And what they're finding through epigenetics is that oxidative stress seems to be the cause of turning these bad genes on. And if we change the diet and clean up the diet and reduce the oxidative stress, our body seems to be capable in some cases of turning those bad genes back off. So again, I'm not an expert. Epigenetics is a new area of research for me. I'm trying to digest all that's coming at me, but really there's things that are turning these good genes on and off, and oxidative stress seems to be the biggest culprit. And I don't know if you've ever heard the saying that genetics loads the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. And that's kind of the same idea. If you guys are, as athletes and as fitness professionals, are not neutralizing the oxidative stress, you're actually putting yourself at risk because you could be turning some things on in your body that you definitely don't want to have turned on. So moving into talking a little bit about the whole food products that Tanya had shared that she had decided to add into her health regimens. I've been with, it's the Juice Plus company, and I've been with them this is going into my 7th year. And I didn't take on a product line lightly. I didn't want to attach my name or my reputation to something that wasn't going to fall completely in line with my belief system. I needed something that was safe. I needed something that was proven. There had to be some good, hard clinical evidence, and I wanted some sort of standards around testing. And to be honest with you, I didn't carry products in my practice for a long time because nothing was meeting that criteria for me. And it was just easy for me to send someone to the health food store if they needed the odd thing. I taught my clients juicing, plant-based eating as much as possible, and healthy lifestyle strategies over supplementation. So when I was introduced to the Juice Plus products, and I saw that they were powdered, concentrated fruit and vegetable powders. So think of it as the same way as juicing, but without the sugar and water. And then when I did my research on the company, and I saw that they were, it was 100% whole food, that it was safe for the entire family. I could use it with my clients that were going through chemotherapy safely. I saw that it was NSF certified, so there was third-party testing that the product was clean. My pro athlete clients or my competitors were going to pee clean because of that certification. And then it was also Health Canada approved, which is really, really difficult. We do not see a lot of Health Canada approved products. Canada has one of the toughest regulatory bodies in the world. There's only another country, it might be Sweden or Switzerland, that beats us in terms of, how strict the guidelines are to have an approved product. That's why most of the products in Canada are not Health Canada approved. And that means that our products have to go through some really strict testing before they go out to our customers or before my family takes it. Then the third thing that really sealed the deal for me on the product line was the clinical research. So it wasn't research on ingredients in the product. It was research on people taking a placebo versus people who were taking a product. And when you see double-blind placebo-controlled research, it is just such an indication that there's something to pay attention here. And I was looking at a product that, now has 38 clinical publications in the world's top clinical and medical journals around the benefit of whole food, fruit and vegetable concentrated supplementation, because it's putting back in the body what our body's lacking. So if you are an athlete, or maybe you're not an athlete and you're having a difficult time getting enough fruits and vegetables in, you're looking at something that's not going to replace your healthy eating. We still want you to eat well. You're looking at something that is providing your body with optimal nutrition and filling in those gaps. I look at it as our nutritional insurance policy. I'm going to eat the best to my ability today, but there's probably still going to be some gaps and some varieties I can't get into my diet. And that's where the Juice Plus products fall into that. And there's tons of research on Juice Plus around reducing oxidative stress. So as an athlete, it's definitely something to take a look at. Now, Tanya, I know you have experience, both in the fitness field and in the nutrition field, and then of course your personal story, recovering from cancer. Where did that land you, and why did you end up in this place?
Let me just switch videos here. For me, like when I went through cancer, for example, like you mentioned, the first thing people, my friends, not the doctors, but the friends around me were saying was, you need to juice, you need to do juicing because you want to flood your body with a lot of the nutrients. And I did. I bought the juicer, which was not cheap. And I bought all the fruits and vegetables to make, my little bit of juice. And unless you add apple to it, it didn't really taste that great. So for me, it was a lot of work at a time where I didn't have the energy to put in all that work. And as you mentioned, you're getting a lot of that extra sugar and water in there when you're juicing too. So that's another reason why I really, really love Juice Plus. And one other thing I forgot to mention when I did my intro was when I was in the fitness world for a few years, I had started my own fitness clothing line, and I was selling leggings and tank tops and going to many, many bodybuilding events and trade shows and stuff like that, where I was meeting a lot more people that were avid exercisers. And the scary thing was when I started talking to a few people and I shared with them my story and what I had gone through years earlier, a lot of them actually were going through the same thing, which they had gone through competitions, or they were exercising regularly and they were now dealing with cancer, or they were dealing with some sort of other serious disease. And that was really, really scary. And for me, it kind of was like, led me into even more passionate about living a healthy life for myself and those around me. So
it's a big deal. Yeah. Awesome. So were you seeing any concerns that were showing up like in the fitness industry, because I know I see, like I'm I've never been in a fitness competition. So like, what were you seeing around you that was a bit of a concern that you feel that if you could offer a warning to now or some advice to would be useful?
Well, definitely, like we are talking about, is adding the heavy antioxidants into your diet. So I see it all the time, and people are very, very restrictive when they're exercising, they're usually eating the same foods over and over again as recommended by a lot of trainers, are giving them the meat and some veg, and they're not getting the healthy fats and stuff that they need. So that's what really concerned me. And I know, like, if there's anyone watching who is in the fitness competition industry, there are healthy ways to do it. I know, Alisa, you've done it with people on the plant-based diet, so it can be done. So really don't be afraid to ask questions and make sure you're thinking long-term. So for me, I'm thinking, am I doing what's really going to serve me down the road? I don't want to just compete, get unhealthy, and then I'm ending up dealing with disease again. That's something I don't want. So, and I don't want other people to go through it too. So that's why we're doing this webinar, to talk about this issue, because not a lot of people know how important the antioxidants are in their body, especially when they're exercising, even more so. So
absolutely agree. Yeah. That's great.
One other thing I don't think we mentioned, I just want to mention it briefly here, is just a lot of athletes that are taking Juice Plus have noticed that they have had reduced muscle soreness, because it's actually neutralizing the oxidative stress. So in the workbook that I'm going to be sending out, there is another webinar in there that does talk a little bit more about this, how if you're experiencing DOMS, like that muscle aches, that means you're experiencing oxidative stress. And so it's by Dr. David Phillips. He's a triathlete, and he's very passionate about helping athletes reduce their oxidative stress. So you'll get that in the workbook. So if you didn't sign up through Eventbrite, just let me know your email address, and I will make sure I will get that workbook out to you as soon as possible.
It's incredible. Awesome. It is a great webinar. It is really, really good. Yes, absolutely. It's great. Now, does anybody have any questions before Tanya and I let you guys go? If you have a question, what you can do is just type it into the chat. You're also welcome to connect with Tanya after the webinar.
I know we've got a few people that are already taking the product. By all means, like, comment in there if there's something positive that you want to share with the rest of the group. We'd love to see your opinions on it too.
Absolutely. Give that a second. So I think that's that pretty much. So it's interesting how many theories you guys are going to see and are out there. And there really is no one size fits all for anyone. It really has to be customized nutrition. My suggestion is just making sure that anything you do follow doesn't reduce your plant food consumption. The moment you start reducing those plant foods and, you know, those fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds and whole grains and legumes and the foods that are really our primary source of nutrients, the moment you start reducing those, you're putting yourself in a position that your body's not going to be able to neutralize or manage the oxidative stress. So, you know, adding Juice Plus in is amazing. It fits within the profile of any diet that you're following. It has no glycemic impact with the capsules. They're incredibly high antioxidant. There are a variety of powdered fruits and vegetables that you probably wouldn't get in your diet on a daily basis. So there's some great benefits to it there. But really just be mindful of anything that's going to limit your plant foods, because that's where, as a health practitioner, that's where I get concerned. All right. Well, it doesn't seem to be any questions. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Tanya?
I think that's it. And I just wanted to really thank you for taking the time to speak with us. I know you're super, super busy. So I just wanted to thank you so much again for sharing with us. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for hosting. All righty, everyone. Have a great night.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.